Hi, I'm Charlotte Grinnell with the Power of the Patient Project. While telemedicine has become the popular way of seeing your doctor, as the pandemic continues, patients are slowly making the decision to once again see their doctor in person. More than ever before, the folks at the front desk of medical practices throughout the country are becoming the connection to scheduling these appointments and assuring anxious patients that their visits will be safe and complete. My guest today is Bob Kieserman. Bob is Executive Director of the Power of the Patient Project, and a large part of his career as a professor of healthcare administration and as a healthcare consultant has been devoted to medical practices and how they are managed. He considers himself an observer of the patient experience. Today, we're talking to him about the effect of the attitude of the front desk staff on the overall patient experience, especially right now. Welcome, Bob. I'm so excited to get started with this topic. So my first question is, we all have our stories about encounters with the people at the front desk staff, but why are you so fascinated with these folks?
The people at the front desk are the face of the practice. And I don't think they realize how important they are. They take their jobs just at face value, but quite honestly, a warm receptionist can make or break a visit. Similarly, a hostile front desk person can break a visit. They are the connection between us, the patient, and the doctor. And if they are not smiling, if they're not happy, if they're not greeting, if they're not warm, it can totally throw off the visit on the wrong foot. Everything can go either uphill from there or downhill from there. So again, they don't really know how important they are, and I have found that it's interesting to delve into why they may be unhappy, why they may take their jobs so superficially. And so that's why I have a fascination with the front desk staff, among other people in the medical office, but especially them.
Yeah, people talk about the bedside manner of doctors, but no one really talks about the front desk staff, which is equally as important. If there's so many complaints about these folks, do we as patients have responsibilities to make it better?
We do. I think that if I could list 5 things, one would be that we have to be patient. And we have to be patient patients because these people have a hard job. We may not think so, it may not seem so, but they do have a hard job, especially right now during the pandemic. Secondly, we should walk in there with understanding that they have a lot of things that they have to handle, phone calls, people coming in, all the protocols that are happening right now when a person goes to a doctor's office. We have to be aware that these people are under very strict rules and protocols. Quite honestly, I think that we should remember to just stay friendly, smile, and understand that getting angry is going to get us nowhere.
Right. Other than having this, understanding and patience, if you were to come up with a list of what the front desk staff wants from patients when they arrive for appointments, what would be on that list?
First of all, that we should have our paperwork. This is very important to them. They can't process a patient in an office without paperwork. So we can come with our paperwork ready. Now, some people right now, and justly so, have a real fear of pulling out their cards from their wallet because of the handling of the cards. So many doctors have become willing at the front desk to have people copy their cards, their insurance cards, and then you can present a piece of paper to the front desk person. Therefore, you don't have to exchange cards. They take the copy, they do what they have to do with it, and then they dispose of it. Secondly, to make sure that we comply with all protocols and requests. They have a lot of things that they have to do, especially right now. If you've been to the doctor, people who are watching have been to the doctor, you know that when you walk in, they take your temperature. There's the social distancing. There's a lot of protocols that have to be followed right now, and we have to just be willing to do it. Most importantly, I would hope that no one would be going into a doctor's office without a mask on. And so, quite honestly, I think the law is that they can't let you in the building without a mask. Now, some doctors are using the process by which you stay in your car, and when it's your turn, they call you, and then you walk into the office and you're the only person there. There's no waiting room. There's no group of people in the waiting room. So you may just have to comply with that. Also, any questions that they ask you, you should be answering politely and willingly, and not fight them on why you asking me that. You asked me that before. It's in my record. Just make their job easier so that they can be a little more pleasant back to you. That's the whole goal. That we want them to be more pleasant back to us so that the visit is pleasant.
Right. And I think at this time, it can be sometimes easy to forget that when you go in person to an appointment, that you're nervous, but so are the people who are, putting their lives at risk to see you. So we have to have that empathy and understanding that we're all kind of in an uncomfortable place in this pandemic, and that we have to be mindful of that.
That's correct. Correct.
And so if a patient does have a bad experience, what can the patient do about it?
Well, certainly I've learned that you don't tell the doctor. Here's a story. I was seen by a new doctor, and it was the first time for me to be in that office. And I had had a bad experience outside in the waiting room. What I had heard in the waiting room was that one of the receptionists, who had a very loud voice, was very loudly welcoming a patient, but she was reading out her social security number, her address, and there's a true violation of confidentiality there. That's one of my biggest pet peeves about a medical office, and one that I keep trying to explain to the doctors in particular. Anyway, when I went into the visit, I met with the doctor. The doctor was wonderful. But the problem was at the end of the visit, I felt compelled to tell the doctor about my experience. So I said to the doctor, as a doctor, I need to address an issue with you. Now that the visit's over, I need to address an issue with you. And the issue is that there's a woman outside of your front desk who is blatantly violating confidentiality. So the doctor turned to me and said, well, I'm sorry that happened, but that's not my job. I'm just the doctor. I said, well, then can you talk to your administrator and bring her in? And she said, with some reluctance, yes, I'll bring her in. So they brought in the administrator, conveyed my story to her, and she started to defend the front desk person. And I knew then and there that I wasn't going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
So in answer to your question, it's not the doctor that you want to talk to, it's really the administrator. But the administrator should be open to hear the complaints because that's their job. And if in fact you don't get any satisfaction from that, because we have so many healthcare systems today, we're not just little tiny offices anymore, there's always someone above that administrator that you can go to. But ultimately, that's who you want to talk to, the administration, the people who are responsible for managing the business aspects of the practice.
Right. It's helpful to know that there are things that you can do in that situation instead of, just sitting by and being uncomfortable by it. You can
I agree with you. You shouldn't just take it. If we don't say something about it, the next patient's going to have the same experience. I agree with you. You're right.
Right. And so finally, what are some tips to making an encounter with someone on the front desk staff better, either when calling to make an appointment or when going in person? Well,
certainly when you're in the office itself, maintain eye contact. Smile. Again, be mindful if their job is stressful. I always say, don't show attitude, show gratitude, so that they know that we appreciate what they do. And always leave the phone call or the visit with a thank you. These people need to be recognized. They need to understand that we do care about them. We honor what they're doing. I don't know how much recognition they get from their doctors or from their administrator. So the patients really have to be the conduit that says thank you for contributing to our healthcare experience. But in closing, I just want to say that it's really important for patients to, as you said, to be mindful of this, to be proactive about this, and to understand that these people are not there to give us a hard time, but maybe the 3 patients before us gave them a real hard time. And that's maybe why they have an attitude. So we want to try to contribute to the experience and make them calm and cool and collected, because it's the worst thing in the world is for a patient to have to go into the examination room after they've been through an argument with the front desk. We don't want that to happen, nor do we want them to have a bad experience when they come out of the examination room. So these people really become very, very important. And we in the project are constantly trying to talk to them. In fact, we have a part of the project that allows us to go in and find out what is on the people's minds, what is on the minds of these front desk, so that we can help the doctor and the administrator better understand what they need to do to keep these people happier in their job. Because it really comes down to job satisfaction. And if they're satisfied in their job and realize the importance that they have, we're going to have a better patient experience.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I've never really thought about it before doing this interview, but I definitely from personal experience know that it can make a huge difference in if I'm nervous about something going into the doctor, and how that interaction can just be such a big thing, especially if it's a positive one and they set me at ease, that I'm much more confident and willing to go into, the appointment that I have. And in the opposite way, if it's not so good, then, that just adds to my anxiety. So I definitely think that that's true, but before this, I've never really thought about it, which is interesting. So I think it's definitely important for people to keep in mind, and the next time that they do go in person, to be mindful of that and pay attention to it.
Okay. Well, thank you for talking to me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this interview with me. This was such an interesting topic, and I'm really glad that we got to discuss it.
Good. Thank you.